Alright, welcome back. We've got a very interesting build for you today. It's a little unusual. We're going to use a different board than we're used to. And let's go ahead and get started. Let me switch views. That looks pretty good. Things we'll need. We're going to need a joystick. I got the wires already attached to this one. We're going to need a 4,700 or so ohm resistor. We're going to need a breadboard, and this time around we're going to use a new board. The old one, this our old friend here, our Uno, we're going to not use today. Instead, you got to come and grab one of these boxes from me, and inside we've got this new board we're going to try out. This is the mkrzero. And I'm recommending you leave the foam attached to it. You can pull it off, and sometimes you're going to want to press this into our breadboard. But for now, I think we'll just leave it pressed into the foam like that. This will keep the pins from getting bent and accidentally touching something when we're just leaving it on the surface of our table. We don't want the pins to accidentally even hit our micro USB head or resistor or something. We don't want to short it out accidentally. Perhaps another build will press it into the board, but for now we'll just leave it on the foam. Okay, so push these other things out of the way. And what we're going to do today is we're going to use the joystick in the new board to actually hack our computer, and we're going to override the keyboard, and we're going to have our joystick take control. And I'll find a game online. I found a Tetris game already. We're going to use that. You can use whatever you like, and we're going to hook up this joystick so we can control the game with our joystick and not the keyboard. So let's go ahead and open up our IDE and move this out of the way just a little bit. We're going to start off by hooking up our joystick to the board and make sure it's working properly. We're going to use the X and Y axis and the push button, all three. So let's wire this up first. I think there's not as many pins on here. We're definitely going to want to use the board just mainly for the positive and negative rail. So I'm going to start by hooking that up. I'm going to find the 5-volt one right here, and we're going to hook that up to our rail on our breadboard. Let's do the same for, if I can find a black wire, but I don't see any, so we'll just use white and hook up the ground like that, and hook this up to ground. Alright, now our board has access to these two rails here, and two of our joystick pins need a ground. The first one right here needs a ground. You can look right there, the G and D. The black wire here, we're going to send that one to the negative. And the next one says 5 volts. That is this one right here. So we're going to send it to 5 volts. The next one over, the blue one, is my X axis. I'm going to go over to my board and let's make that be A5. Push that into A5. The next one over, the gray one, is my Y axis. We're going to make that A2. I think I said that backward. The first one's an A1 and this one's an A2. And the last one, this other black wire, it says SW, it's my switch. This one we're going to put into a digital 01 Let's put it way over here on this side, the 6. Alright, so I've got the switch going to 6, I've got my y-axis going to A1, and my x-axis going to y-axis A2, x-axis A1. We'll make sure we get this going before we start hacking the computer. Alright, that looks good. Now, the only problem we're going to have, let's go ahead and solve it right now, is my switch. I need a pull-up resistor for my switch to work really well. So I'm going to actually not connect it directly into pin 6. I'm going to send pin 6 across into one of these rows. Doesn't matter which one. And then I'm going to use that resistor. I'm going to set one end to that row, and I'm going to set it to high or 5 volts. And I'm going to put the actual wire goes to the switch on the joystick. We're going to put it in that same row. So it kind of bifurcates. One of it's going to go to the 6 pin on my mkrzero, and the other one is going to split it and going to go to the 5-volt rail on my breadboard. This will help distinguish between zeros and ones when I'm using this switch. Alright, that looks pretty good. Got all the wires hooked up. And let's go ahead and write some simple code so that we can read the joystick outputs and make sure everything's working right. So let's go over here, our IDE. We're going to need to, let's see, get some more stuff out of the way. Let's put in our void setup. Normally it would be there, but I think I just accidentally deleted a little too much. And we're going to want to see what's going on. So we'll turn on the serial monitor so we can collect some information. And let's tell the board what's happening. We had A1. This one is an input. Matter of fact, all of them are inputs. The A1, the A2 is also an input, and the switch, which was 6, is also an input. And then let's add the void loop. And here we just want to gather some data from the x-axis. I need to make up some variables. Let's call the first one x-axis. Let's call the second input for the joystick, let's call it the y-axis. And let's call the push button the button. Alright. So we want to read these values on pin A1, A2, and 6. So let's read the x-axis. And to read it, we're going to do analog read. We're going to read A1. We're going to do the same thing to the y-axis. Analog read, and that one's going to be A2. And we're also going to read the button, which is not an analog pin, so we want to use a digital read. It's on pin 6. And then we just want to see what's going on. We want to read what the input is for each of these pins. We are storing them in these 3 variables, and then we want to just look at the variables and see if we're getting what we're hoping to be getting. See if we've actually wired it up properly. So let's do a serial print x-axis, serial print. I'm doing LN because I wanted to jump down to a new line in between each one of these readings. And a serial print button. And let's put a little delay in here. Let's do like quarter second so we can see our values. Alright, so we made some variables, defined them as integers. I wired these up hopefully correctly. We're going to read them and we're going to take a look at them. Now I did this already. I was toying around with this board and it's already set to the correct board, but it's not going to be set for yours. You're going to have to look for it. So in a board manager, you're going to have to go down and find the Arduino mkrzero and select it. Prior to this, it would have been on like that. So you would have opened up tools, you would have said Arduino Uno, and we need to switch it to the mkrzero. There it is. And we need the port, and we're not plugged in yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's hook ourselves up to the computer so it'll close tools, reopen it. Okay, it found it for us just fine. We don't need to worry about that. And let's go ahead and upload this. Got some lag time with my video number 1. It's interesting. Not fatal, but a little interesting. Probably need to change the frames per second. Do I do that right now? Should we do it? Let's take a quick peek here, maybe see if I can find it. I'm just looking over here, some camera data. Nope. Let me look at this one over here. Configure video, default, custom. Let's do a custom. Let's see if we can. I'll do this and I'll forget that I've done it. Match. Resolution. Probably going to mess this up. Wish I hadn't done that. Wish I hadn't done this. Yep, see, I disappeared. I'm not in the corner anymore. What are you doing, Mr. Brower? I am gone. I made myself vanish. Come back, Mr. Brower. Pretty sure that's the right one. What did I just hit? Custom's okay. We can go back to that. There I am, but I'm not going to mess with it right now. Let's just go back. The thing's already loaded, so let's take a look. Alright, so we're getting some values. Let's go back and I'm going to press the button first. Right now it's reading a 1. Press it and it's reading a 0. Unpress it back to a 1. Excellent. Here I'm reading 700-ish. I'm going to go to the left. It jumped to 1023. I'm going to go the other direction. Went close to 0. Let's try the other axis. 1023. And then close to 0. Alright, I'm going to go off in some corner. Get it both 1023. Opposite, so I can get both to almost 0. Alright, so this looks like it's working nicely. Buttons working, all the joystick controls are working nicely. Right now when I'm doing nothing, I have a value of high 700s, about 800. I need to remember that when I'm programming the rest of this. And going up sends it. Actually, I might do this a little different. I'm thinking I'm doing Tetris. So I'm kind of designing this as I'm talking to you. I know the blocks I want to go left, So if I move it to my right, that's 1023. And I'll explain what I'm doing a little more when I show you the game. I'm going to the left is 0, so high and then low. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Let's go ahead and add some more programming. Now we want to hack the computer, and we need to do that by introducing a new library. The new library is, let's see if it's a default one. I think it is. Yeah, here it is in our collection, the standard library. So we're going to do keyboard. And oddly enough, it doesn't take a whole lot of work to do this, which is pretty cool. I need to turn on the keyboard like I did the serial monitor. I'll do that by writing keyboard begin. I don't need any value in there. And then down here, let's take out the delay. I'm just going to use these values to control. Matter of fact, let's pause here for just a minute. Let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the game I found. I got this free Tetris game, pardon the advertisements. So if I play the game, and you can certainly select any game you'd like. I'm just picking this one. Looks like I got a little commercial I got to go through. You don't have to watch it though. I want to show you how the game worked and then why I am going to be programming it the way I'm programming it. So some of you may have never seen Tetris before. You'd use a racing game, something that's simple, only uses like the arrow keys, maybe a space bar. Alright, so in this game we do left arrow, right arrow. I'm using the keyboard to control this, left and right. Up and down, up arrow rotates it. Down arrow, okay, pushes it down really fast. What else happens? Space? What did space do? How did that compare to the bottom? Okay, space looks like it just shoves it right down, whereas the bottom arrow slowly or rapidly drops it down. Okay, so left, right arrow, up rotates it. That's about all we need for right now. Let's move this to the side. Now we're going to control this game not with our keyboard, we're going to use a joystick. And we're going to use the left and right to do our left and right arrow keys. We'll start with that. I think we'll have the button, pushing the button will be the up arrow key, which rotated our Tetris blocks. So let's start off with the left and right, and I need to take a look again. Hold this up in the right orientation. So if I go to the right, I'm at 1023. If I go to the left, I'm at not quite 0. Give myself a little bit of flexibility. Let's go like anything less than 100. I may want to write that down, but I think I can remember that much. So let's put some if statements in here. Let's say if the x-axis, I'm sorry, I'm going to pause again. I'm going to make sure it's actually the x-axis. I don't have these backwards. So yeah, I think it's going to be backwards because the top number in my program, I'm reading the x-axis as the first number. So I really want to do my x and y are backwards. Here's my orientation. My left and right here is changing the bottom one, and that's the y. So let's swap these. Make that y. Make this x. And just so I'm not confusing myself, let's swap this one as well. Upload this. I call it whatever I want. I can keep calling it y-axis, but even though it's really the x-axis. Let's go ahead and switch it. Could have played another Tetris game here while we're waiting. Going to be a little slow here. Oh, unhappy with something. Oh, that's because I started adding this and then I got distracted and left it in there. I gotta wait again. You do a little dino squeeze here while we're waiting. Looking at that lag. Figure out what's up with that. Hopefully it doesn't affect the sound. There's always something, isn't there? That's alright, we'll work around it. Okay. Don't know if it was worth all the effort. I even took the delay out. This is going to be a little bit of a pain. So I'm going to go. So that's the bottom number is x-axis. I did the scrolling. I'm going to have it scroll back and do the top over bottom number, and it went to 1023. So I think now we're okay. And this is the correct. This x-axis actually matches what I have up here. Okay, if we mess up, we can always fix it later. Now let's go back and do an if statement. So if the x-axis is less than, let's go like 100, less than 100, this is going to be the left arrow key. So let's have it. Is a new command for you. Keyboard press, and in the parentheses here, the parameter I need to insert is what keyboard do I want my joystick to override and act like. And I want it to act like the key arrow left. How do I know that? Well, I had to look it up, and I actually, let's go back to this. If you go to the Canvas page, I included all the parameters you can think of for every key on the keyboard. So we're using key left arrow, we're going to use key right arrow, we're going to use key up arrow. For right now, we're going to use key arrow left. And when it presses that, it's going to press that when my value is less, when my x-axis value is less than 100, it's going to press this for us. And I think we need it to delay just a tiny amount. My gut tells me that we should have it delay. Alright, so the same thing for the y-axis. This time we want it to be greater. Excuse me, I want it to be greater than, let's go like 1,000. Keyboard, press, key, arrow, right. Another little delay. That looks pretty good. It's already closed off. Let's do a little review. So when the y-axis value, actually not y-axis, x-axis value is greater than 1,000, which we'll get when we're pushing this all the way to the right, we'll get it to be 1023. Then I want it to act like it's pressing the right arrow, and do the same thing when it's below 100. So when it's off to the left, it'll press the left arrow key. We don't want to leave out the button, so let's go ahead and add that. If button, this time around I want to check to see if it is a, no, I don't remember. Let's take a look. The button is pressed, it becomes a 0. When I press it, it becomes a 0. So when it's a 0, we want it to be the up keyboard press. We want it to be the key arrow up. This will rotate our block. Okay, that looks good. So we press it, it should rotate the key. Now we didn't do the up and down axis. We could have that control. Maybe if I pressed it down, let's just go ahead and just do this much to make sure it's working. And then we'll entertain the idea of when I press it down, that'll be the down arrow key, and that'll cause the Tetris block to move to the bottom of the playing field. All right, now there's one last really important command we need to put at the bottom here. Otherwise, we'll have all sorts of problems. Keyboard release all, and that should do it. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with everything. This last command, what it does is, how do I explain this? It's easier to explain if you don't do this. If you don't do this, then you'll press the down arrow key and you'll press the joystick. In our case, you'll push the button, and pushing the button says, well, Mr. Brower wants me to substitute key arrow up, and so it pushes it up, and it keeps pushing it up, and keeps pushing it up, and always keeps pushing it up until we see the keyboard release all, and it'll stop pressing the up arrow key. So if you forget to put this in here, and we run the program, then anytime I press the button or go left or right, it'll be as if I took my finger on the keyboard and just pressed it on the arrow keys and kept pressing it. And I've done that with other projects a couple times, and it's not fatal, but it's a little bit of a pain because you're trying to interact with the computer and that key's automatically pressed all the time. So hopefully we can avoid that obstacle. Let's go ahead and give this a try. Let's upload this. I'm feeling pretty confident. Everything should work nicely. We checked everything. We checked our wiring by looking at the serial monitor and looked at all of our outputs on the serial monitor. Make sure everything was working right. The only new thing we've added are these if statements. Nope, didn't like something. Let's see. Key arrow left, and let's double check this. Let's go back to what I gave you in Canvas. I may have okay, it looks like I put these in backwards. I've got key arrow left, and we need key left arrow, so we've got them in backwards. No worries, easy fix. So we key left. We'll also need to fix this one. Key right arrow and key up arrow. Let's try it again. Key, which key? The left arrow. Oh, no, I think we're right. Take a quick peek of this again. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And as you can see, we got a bunch. All the F keys, the home tab, and so on. I just grabbed a few, but every key on the keyboard you can look up. Okay, let's pull the game back up and grab my, I'm going to have to move this a little bit so I can grab the joystick with leisure. Let's go ahead and restart the game. Oh, we have another commercial here we have to endure. Now whatever you pick as your game, I encourage you to find something you're interested in, not the one I just picked. You'll have to maybe change the code a little bit. If you don't have the arrow keys, you maybe use the ASWD keys, and we'll have to substitute that. Alright, I'm going to pause. Okay, that worked. That worked. Let's try the button. The button was a little funny. Let's switched. It's a little stubborn switching. Left and right are working fabulous. I think I didn't put a delay. Try the, I didn't do the down key. Left and right look great though, as you can see. I'm moving left and right. I did not do a delay, so let's go ahead and just let that run on its own and add a delay down here. Oh, spell it right would be nice. I think we should also be bold and go ahead and add one more if statement for, I don't have anything. Let's see, what am I doing down here? Oh, I do have a delay. Right here's my delay for my button. Let me go back to the game again. Let me just investigate just a little more. Resume. No more commercials, please. Push. That one I can't see if it's rotating. Oh, come on. I don't know if I should do a longer delay. Or shorter delay, I'm not sure. It's like selecting it, it's bouncing, I think. I'm going to go ahead and hit the space key, does it? Or no, it's the top arrow key. Yeah, so normally I get an audible click, click, click. And when I do the press the joystick, it's making that noise multiple times, so I'm getting a little bounce. Which means when I'm pushing the button, instead of immediately closing, it's jiggling on and off just for a fraction of a second. Otherwise, I think it's working great. Let's go ahead and add the down arrow one. If, not button, if the y-axis and I don't remember, we want it to be down, so I can't remember if down is, it's probably, I'm going to just take a guess on this one. I think it's going to be going down is going to be closer to 0. We're going to say if that is less than 100. Take a little risk here. Then we want the keyboard press key down arrow, and that slides it to the bottom really fast. Although with my button being a little funny, I may not want to do that. It's a functional button, but there is a way to get rid of that bounce, but it's a little complicated. Alright, let's just go with this. Hitting the space bar on the Tetris game, that just shot it automatically straight at the ground, so I don't think we need that. I think just using the y-axis down will work just fine. Okay. Excited here. Really excited to see what you adapt this, what kind of game you find and adapt this little bit of hacking here for your game. So let's go ahead and go back to the game. No. More advertisements. I'm going to lower that so I don't have to watch it. So what you're going to do, we can talk about this for a minute. Obviously you're welcome to repeat exactly what I did. It'd be cool if you found your own game that again used arrow keys or maybe the ASWD keys to control it, and adapt the program so that the joystick can control it. The next build, whoop, we're going. Talk later, Mr. Brower. Let's get going here. Okay, that drops it. Ooh, the bottom arrow key froze it. Well, that's weird. Whoa. We got a whoa there. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. I'm just practicing with the down arrow. Well, that's kind of cool. I can. Too bad I can't go up. I can only go down. Those keys seem to be working nicely. Ooh. Alright. Now obviously I'm not very good at this, but I'm mostly just trying to make sure my joystick actually works. Seems to be working nicely, so I'm going to call this for right now, it's a done project. Now what we'll do later is, let me just close all that. We're going to actually add a little bit. We're not going to do a one and done with this mkrzero board. I'm thinking we'll add some other ways we can interact with our computer besides the joystick. I'll let you know, but it could be, I've got these magnetic switches thinking about using, and we could move our hands around with magnets in them to control. Instead of using a keyboard, we can just move our hands, or we can even go back to the pressure sensor, and we could just tap like this and cause the arrow keys or something like that to happen. Something like that. We'll do a variation of this on the next one, and that'll be good for now. Hopefully it's all working out for you. This has been a fun little project. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to do. I'm sorry, if you don't mind. I didn't put a delay in there. I actually was thinking about that while I was toying around with it, and then I started doing y-axis x-axis combo. I was able to move that Tetris block, so get some interesting motion on there, and then I kind of forgot about the delay. So I'm going to add that delay in there for one final play here. I can see we're still compiling and we're waiting for our commercial at the same time. So I don't get to hit the oh, I'm not ready yet. I haven't compiled. Now it's got her just behind my head. Oh well actually the old program will work on here until the new one does something. It will still loading. I just wanted to test that down button. Still uploading. Alright, now it's done. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it out. I'm going to go down. Nice. Slammed it right down. Of course, it makes my Tetris play lousy. And we want to do the button. Other than bouncing a little bit, that looks good too. Okay, I'm going to call this a done project. And no, I'm not going to finish this. Actually, I can just do this. There we go. Alright, so game over. We'll see you on the next build. Have a good one.